The Great Hall of Station Meridian was built to make visitors feel small. Its ceiling rose so high that clouds formed near the top. Lights floated in the air like tiny stars. Representatives from 100 worlds sat in their assigned seats, arranged in circles that spread outward from the center platform. The closer your seat to the center, the more your species mattered. Earth's seat was at the very edge. Almost in the shadows, Ambassador Yunhana walked to her place with her head held high. She wore a simple black suit. No jewelry. No decorations. She had learned long ago that the alien races saw human attempts at grandeur as amusing. So she chose dignity instead. 70 years. That was how long Earth had been part of the Galactic Assembly. 70 years of following rules they did not write. 70 years of asking permission to expand, to build, to grow. 70 years of being told no. Today, she would ask again. The High Arbiter of the Velen Empire stood at the center platform. His name was Ven, and his species resembled tall birds with scales instead of feathers. The Velens had ruled this part of the galaxy for 3,000 years. They looked at humans the way humans once looked at insects. The Assembly recognizes the representative from Earth, Ven announced. His voice echoed through the hall. You may speak, Hannah stood. Every eye in the chamber turned to her. Some looked curious. Most looked bored. A few looked amused, as if watching a child try to sit at the adult table. Thank you, High Arbiter, Hannah said. Her voice was calm and clear. Earth requests permission to establish colonies in the Outer Rim territories, specifically in sectors 447 through 453. These sectors are currently empty. No other species has claimed them. We ask only for the right to settle unclaimed space. She sat down. Short and simple. She had learned that long speeches only gave them more reasons to say no. Ven tilted his head in the way. Velens did when they were thinking. Then he turned to the other elder races for their input. Delegate Cora of the Keth Dominion rose first. The Keth were massive creatures, built like mountains with arms. Their empire controlled more military power than any other. Cora looked at Hannah with eyes like black stones. The humans asked for 7 sectors, Cora said slowly. 7 sectors they cannot protect. 7 sectors they cannot develop. What would they do with such space? Build more of their tiny ships? Train more of their weak soldiers? Laughter rippled through the assembly. Hannah did not move. I have seen the human fleet, Cora continued. I have seen their weapons. They are decorative relics. Toys painted to look like warships. If we gave them the Outer Rim, pirates would take it from them within a year. More laughter. Louder this time, a representative from the Aura Collective spoke next. The Aura were thin beings made mostly of light and energy. They were traders and merchants. The economic output of Earth is negligible, the Aura said. Their gross planetary product is smaller than a single Velen mining colony. Expanding their territory would only spread their limited resources thinner. It would not benefit the Assembly. Ven nodded slowly. Are there any voices in support of Earth's request? Silence filled the great hall. Hannah waited. She had expected this. She had prepared for this. But the silence still hurt. Ven spread his wings slightly. It was a Velen gesture of dismissal. The request is denied. Furthermore, the Assembly has received reports that human mining operations in the Beta Cluster are damaging local ecosystems. Effective immediately, human mining permits in sectors 12 through 18 are suspended pending review. Hannah's hands tightened under the table. Those mining operations fed 12 colonies. Millions of people depended on them. The humans will comply, Ben continued. It was not a question. They will remember their place in this assembly. They are a young species. Still learning to walk among the stars? Perhaps in another century, they will be ready for more responsibility. Delegate Cora made a sound that might have been a laugh. Another century? You are generous, High Arbiter. I think they will still be asking for scraps in 1,000 years. The assembly erupted in laughter. Representatives from dozens of worlds joined in. They laughed at Earth. They laughed at humanity. They laughed at the small woman in the black suit who sat alone at the edge of the shadows. Hannah did not speak. She did not defend her people. She did not argue or plead or show anger. She simply sat and recorded everything. Every laugh. Every insult. Every dismissive wave. When the session ended, she walked out of the great hall without looking back. Her assistant, a young man named Cho Minsu, hurried to catch up with her. Ambassador, he whispered. What do we do now? Should we file an appeal? Hannah kept walking. No appeals, but the mining permits 70 years, Minsu. Hannah's voice was quiet but hard as iron. For 70 years we have appealed. We have begged. We have followed every rule and signed every treaty, and they still laugh at us. She stopped at a communication terminal and entered a code that only 5 people on Earth knew. She typed a short message and sent it through 17 different relay stations, each one stripping away any trace of its origin. The message reached Earth in 6 hours. It arrived at a bunker hidden beneath the old city of Seoul, Admiral Park. Minho read it on a screen that glowed blue in the darkness. The message contained only 4 words. They have made their choice. Minho was 67 years old. He had served Earth's defense forces for 40 years. He had watched his fleet be reduced by treaty after treaty. He had trained soldiers who were never allowed to fight. He had built weapons that were never allowed to be used. He looked at the men and women around him, scientists, generals, engineers, the best minds humanity had produced. Working in secret for decades, it is time, he said. Activate Protocol Sunrise. Somewhere in the darkness, machines began to wake. Ships that did not officially exist powered up their engines. Factories that had been disguised as recycling plants started their true work. Earth had been patient. Earth had been quiet. Earth had smiled and nodded and signed treaties, while building something in the shadows. Now the shadows were about to open, and the galaxy would learn that. Humanity remembered every laugh.
3 weeks passed after the assembly meeting. At first, no one noticed anything strange. Earth was a minor world. Its communications were not important. Its trade ships were small and few, but then the silence began. A Velen merchant tried to contact Earth's trade office. No response. An Aura banking representative sent 17 messages about outstanding loans. No response. The Keth Dominion demanded an update on the mining suspension. No response. Ambassador Yoon Hannah's seat at the assembly remained empty. Her office on Station Meridian was locked. When officials broke down the door, they found it completely cleaned out. Not a single piece of paper, not a single data chip, nothing. High Arbiter Ven received reports about the silence during his morning briefing. He waved his wing dismissively. The humans are having a tantrum, he said. Like children who did not get what they wanted. They will return when they realize they need our trade goods. Give them 2 months. They will come begging. But 2 months passed and Earth remained silent. Trade ships approaching Sol System were stopped at the border. Automated stations, ones that had always been described as navigation aids in official records, turned them away. The stations broadcast the same message on repeat. Sol System is closed to outside traffic. Please return to your point of origin. Human merchants across the galaxy quietly closed their shops. Human workers at alien companies resigned and disappeared. Human students at alien universities withdrew from their programs. One by one, like leaves falling from a tree, humans vanished from alien space. In the Great Hall of Station Meridian, the representatives began to whisper. What are they doing? Dior asked. Who cares? Delegate Cora replied. Let them hide in their little system. They are not important. But on Earth, something important was happening. Admiral Park Minho stood in a hangar the size of a small city. Before him, lined up in perfect rows, were ships. Not the small, weak vessels that the galaxy knew. These were new ships. Ships that had been built in secret in underground factories. On hidden stations in the asteroid belt. Engineer No Yunbi walked beside him. She was 52 years old and had spent 30 of those years on Project Prometheus. Her hair was gray and her eyes were tired, but her smile was proud. We have completed the final tests, she said. The new FTL drives are 3 times faster than anything the Velans have. Our shields can absorb Keth plasma weapons without damage. Our targeting systems can hit a moving ship from distances they consider impossible. Minho nodded slowly. And they have no idea. None. Every report we sent to the assembly showed only our old ships. The ones they approved. The ones they laughed at. Yunbi's smile grew wider. They thought we were building toys. We let them think that. In another part of the bunker, Dr. Sha Sujin was addressing Earth's unified government. The leaders of every nation sat in a circle, watching her presentation. Project Prometheus began 40 years ago, she explained. Her voice was calm and measured, like a teacher explaining something to students. It started with a simple question. What if we could not depend on the assembly forever? What if we needed to stand on our own? She pressed a button and images filled the air. Ships, weapons, medical equipment. Terraforming machines? Agricultural systems that could turn dead worlds into gardens. We did not just build weapons, she continued. We built a future. One where we do not need to beg for permission. One where we can feed our people, heal our sick, and protect our borders without asking anyone. General SCO Dongwon, commander of Earth's ground forces, leaned forward. How do we hide all of this? The assembly has inspectors. They check our factories. They count our ships. Sujin smiled. We showed them what they expected to see. They expected us to be weak, so we looked weak. They expected us to be poor, so we looked poor. They never searched carefully because they never believed we could be a threat. The leader of the European Federation spoke up. And now? What happens now? Now, Admiral Minho said, stepping into the room, we end the lies. He walked to the center of the circle and looked at each leader in turn. His face was hard. His eyes were cold. But his voice was steady. For 70 years, they told us what we could not build, where we could not go, what we could not become. We signed their treaties because we had no choice. We were alone. We were weak. We were new to the stars, he paused. We are not weak anymore. Commander Beek Jiho, head of intelligence, activated a screen. We have drafted notifications of withdrawal from every treaty Earth has signed with the Galactic Assembly. All 847 of them. Trade agreements, military limitations, technology restrictions, colony boundaries. All of them. The room was silent. 847 treaties. 70 years of chains, about to be broken in a single moment. If we do this, the leader of the Asian coalition said slowly, there is no going back. They will come for us. Let them come, Minho replied. We are ready. At midnight Earth Standard Time, the notifications were sent. A single data packet traveled through space to Station Meridian. It arrived during the night shift, when only junior officials were on duty. A young Aura clerk opened it and began to read. His hands started shaking before he finished the first page. By morning, the entire assembly was in chaos. Representatives shouted at each other. Officials ran through the halls. Emergency sessions were called and canceled and called again. High Arbiter Ven read the notification in his private chamber. His feathers stood up in shock. At the bottom of the document, below the list of 847 broken treaties, was a single line. Earth remembers. Ven crumpled the paper in his claws. Send a fleet, he ordered. Send it now. Teach these humans their place. He did not know that Earth was waiting. He did not know that humanity had been preparing for this moment for 40 years. He did not know that the silence was about to end with thunder.
The Velan fleet entered human space with 200 warships. They were the pride of the Empire. Each ship was a kilometer long, covered in weapons that could turn cities to ash. They had conquered dozens of worlds. They had never lost a battle. Commander Threll stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the stars. Behind him, his officers worked at their stations. The mood was almost bored. This was not a war. This was discipline. A parent teaching a child to behave. How long until we reach Earth? Threll asked. For hours at current speed, Commander? Thrall nodded. For hours. Then the humans would learn what happened to species that forgot their place. But as the fleet crossed into Sol System, something strange happened. Warning lights began to flash on every ship. Sensors detected objects in space. Hundreds of objects. Thousands of objects. Stations that had not been there before. Ships that should not exist, Commander, an officer said, his voice confused. We are detecting a defense grid. Defense grid? Thrall stepped forward. The humans have no defense grid. Their treaties forbid it. The readings are clear, sir. Stations at regular intervals. All armed. All active. On the main screen, Thrall saw them. Massive stations hanging in the darkness. Their shapes were strange, nothing like the gentle curves of human civilian stations. These were hard angles and sharp edges. These were built for war. His communication officer spoke. Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet. Human fleet? Thrall almost laughed. They have a dozen ships. Show me. The screen changed. Thrall's laughter died in his throat. Ships filled the space before him. Not the small, outdated vessels in the assembly's records. These were new ships. Sleek and dark, like knives made of shadow. There were hundreds of them. And at their center was a massive carrier, larger than anything Thrall had ever seen. A face appeared on the screen. An older human male with gray hair and cold eyes. I am Admiral Park Min-ho of the Terran Defense Force, the human said. His voice was calm, almost polite. You have entered human space without permission. I am giving you one chance to withdraw. Take your fleet and return to Velen territory. This is your only warning. Thrall stared at the screen. Then he started to laugh. You think your toys scare me, human? You think your tricks will save you? I have 200 warships. We have enough, Min-ho interrupted. I will not ask again. Leave now, or face the consequences. Thrall cut the transmission. All ships, forward. Weapons ready. Show these humans what a real fleet looks like. The Velen ships surged forward, their weapons charged, their crews prepared for an easy victory. The battle lasted 11 minutes. The first human ships moved so fast that Velen sensors could barely track them. They appeared on one side of the fleet, fired, and vanished before anyone could respond. Velen shields, which had never failed, crumpled under weapons they had never seen. Ship after ship exploded. Velen crews screamed as their vessels tore apart. Commander Thrall shouted orders, but nothing worked. His ships could not hit the human vessels. His weapons could not pierce their shields. His fleet, the pride of the Empire, was being destroyed like paper in a fire. How? Thrall whispered. How is this possible? On the human flagship, Admiral Min-ho watched the battle with no expression. Captain Kong Tai-ho stood beside him, commanding the tactical display. Their formation is breaking, Tai-ho reported. 17 ships have surrendered. 23 are attempting to flee. Let the fleeing ships go, Min-ho ordered. Someone needs to tell the assembly what happened here. 23 Velen ships escaped the battle. They carried news that would shake the galaxy. The humans had won. Not just one. They had destroyed a Velen fleet with barely any losses. While the galaxy absorbed this shock, humanity moved quickly. Vice Admiral Lim Chaoan led the first expeditionary fleet to the human colony worlds. For decades, these colonies had lived under assembly protection. In truth, they had been hostages. Insurance to make sure Earth behaved, not anymore. When Vice Admiral Lim's fleet arrived at New Busan, it's the largest human colony, the colonial governor wept. He had not seen human warships in 30 years. He had almost forgotten what it felt like to be protected by his own people. You're really here, he said. You're really free, Lim replied. And so are you. Across the galaxy, humans who had hidden for decades revealed themselves. Agent Bong Sunwoo, who had spent 15 years pretending to be a servant in a Velen noble's house, transmitted everything he had learned. Fleet positions, supply routes, political secrets. weaknesses that the elder races had hidden for centuries. Other agents did the same. Information flooded back to Earth, information that would have taken normal spies centuries to gather. Back on Earth, Dr. Che Sujin addressed the government once more. Project Prometheus was never just about weapons, she said. We built everything. Terraforming systems that can make dead worlds bloom, medical technology that can cure diseases the Assembly considered permanent, agricultural systems that can feed billions without outside trade. She looked at the leaders with pride. They thought they were limiting our weapons. In truth, they pushed us to become self-sufficient. They forced us to innovate. Every restriction made us stronger. Ambassador Yoon Hana prepared a new message for the Galactic Assembly. This time, she would not be asking for permission. Humanity will no longer submit to treaties written by those who see us as lesser, the message read. Any species that wishes to deal with us will do so as equals, or not at all. When the message reached Station Meridian, the Great Hall fell silent. No one laughed. No one mocked. For the first time in 70 years, the galaxy looked at humanity with new eyes, and they were afraid. 6 months had passed since Earth broke its chains. The galaxy had changed in ways no one expected. The Velen Empire, once the most powerful force in known space, was in crisis. Their defeat at Sol System had shattered their reputation. Colonies that had been loyal for centuries began asking questions. Subject races that had been quiet for generations began to whisper about rebellion. But the Keth Dominion refused to accept the new reality. Delegate Korra stood before the Dominion's War Council. His massive body trembled with rage. "We are the Keth," he roared. "We do not bow to anyone. We do not fear anyone. These humans humiliated the Velens because the Velens are weak." "We are not weak," the council agreed. 2,000 warships were gathered, the largest fleet in galactic history. They would crush humanity once and for all. Their target was New Busan, the largest human colony. 5 million people lived there. Families, children, workers building a new life. Among the stars, when human intelligence detected the Keth fleet, Admiral Park Min-ho knew this would be different. This was not a small punishment force. This was an army of destruction. "They want to make an example of us," he told his officers. "They want to show the galaxy that humans can still be crushed." Fleet Captain Yu Junho studied the tactical maps. 2,000 ships. "We have 600 in the area. The rest would take days to arrive, and 600 will have to be enough." Minho's voice was iron. "I will lead the defense myself." The Battle of New Busan began at dawn, colony time. The Keth fleet appeared in the sky like a swarm of metal locusts. Their ships blocked out the stars. On the surface, 5 million humans looked up and saw death coming. But between them and death stood their fleet. Admiral Minho's flagship, the Terra's Pride, led the charge. Human ships were smaller than Keth vessels, faster and more nimble. They danced between the massive enemy ships, striking at weak points. Vanishing before the Keth could respond, Captain Kong Tai-ho commanded the research vessel Horizon. His ship was not built for war. It was built for exploration and science. But it had one advantage: the fastest FTL drive ever created. "We need to take out their command ship," Minho said during the battle. "Without Delegate Korra giving orders, their fleet will lose coordination." "The command ship is in the center of their formation," Junho replied. "We cannot reach it," Kane Tai-ho said. His voice was calm. Everyone on the bridge turned to look at him. Minho's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "The Horizon can jump faster than their sensors can track. I can appear behind their command ship, disable their systems, and capture Korra before they know what happened." "That's a suicide mission," Junho said. "You'll be surrounded by enemy ships." Tai-ho smiled. "Then I'll have to be fast." Minho stared at the young captain for a long moment. He saw something in Tai-ho's eyes. Determination. Courage. The willingness to sacrifice everything. "Do it," Minho ordered. The Horizon vanished from the battlefield. For 3 heartbeats, no one knew where it went. Then it appeared directly behind the Keth command ship, so close that their hulls almost touched. Taiho's crew moved with perfect precision. They fired specialized weapons that disabled the command ship's engines and communications. Before the Keth could react, human soldiers boarded the vessel. Delegate Korra was captured in his own war room. The being who had laughed at humanity was now a prisoner. Without their leader, the Keth fleet fell into chaos. Ships collided with each other. Orders contradicted other orders. The coordinated swarm became a confused mess. Human ships pressed their advantage. Hour by hour, the Keth fleet crumbled. Ships surrendered. Ships fled. Ships were destroyed. When the battle ended, 1,400 Keth warships had been captured or destroyed. The Dominion's military power, built over thousands of years, was broken in a single day. On the surface of New Busan, 5 million humans cheered. They had been saved. Their protectors had come for them. Secretary on Minji broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. Her face was kind but serious. The Keth Dominion chose war. They lost. But humanity does not seek vengeance. We will not harm the Keth people. We will not destroy their worlds or enslave their children. We are not what they thought we were. We are not monsters. She paused. We will punish only those who made the choice to attack us. The leaders, not the innocent. This is the difference between humanity and those who scorned us. Across the galaxy, small races watched this message with wonder. For thousands of years, the elder races had ruled through fear. When they won wars, they destroyed. They enslaved. They erased. But the humans won and showed mercy. Diplomat Onara worked day and night in the weeks that followed. Species that had been oppressed by the elder races sent messages to Earth. They wanted to talk. They wanted to join this new power that treated others with respect. The Aura Collective, always practical, quietly approached Earth for trade negotiations. They recognized that the old order was finished. The smart thing was to adapt. But High Arbiter Ven of the Velen Empire refused to accept defeat. He watched his empire crumble. He watched his allies fall. He watched everything he had built turn to dust. And in his desperation, he made a terrible choice. Deep in Velen space, in a system that was forbidden to visit, there was an ancient weapon. It had been built during a war so old that no one remembered who fought it. The weapon could destabilize a star. It could make suns explode. The Galactic Assembly had forbidden this weapon forever. Even speaking about it was a crime. But Ven no longer cared about laws. He no longer cared about consequences. He activated the weapon and aimed it at a star surrounded by human colonies. If I cannot rule the galaxy, he whispered, then I will burn it. The warning came at midnight. A stellar destabilizer had been activated in Velen space. Its target was the Hemin system, where 8 million humans lived on 3 colony worlds. Admiral Park Min-ho received the news in silence. He had fought many battles. He had faced death many times. But this was different. This was madness. How long until the weapon fires? He asked. 72 hours, Commander Beak, Jiho replied. The destabilizer needs time to charge. Once it fires, the star will collapse. Everything in the system will die. Minho closed his eyes. 8 million people. Families, children, dreams, all of them waiting to be burned. Can we attack the weapon directly? The Velans have surrounded it with their remaining fleet. If we assault the position, they will trigger the weapon early. We cannot win. Can we evacuate the colonies? In 72 hours, we could save maybe 50,000. The rest would be left behind. The room fell silent. Every option led to death. Then Dr. Cha Sujin spoke. Her voice was quiet but steady. There is another way. Everyone turned to look at her. She was old now, her hair completely white, but her mind was still sharp. Project Prometheus had one final secret, something we never told anyone. We built a prototype ship. The Silent Star? It can travel faster than light without any detectable signature. It is invisible to every sensor we know of. Minho leaned forward. Why did you hide this? Because it was too dangerous. If our enemies knew we had such technology, they would never stop hunting us. We kept it for a moment of absolute need. She paused. This is that moment. The plan was simple, but deadly. The Silent Star would sneak into Velen's space and reach the weapons control station. A small team would infiltrate the station and disable the destabilizer before it could fire. It was a suicide mission. Everyone knew it. Captain Kong Tai-ho volunteered immediately. He had already risked his life at New Busan. He was willing to do it again. But Ambassador Yoon Hana surprised everyone. I will go with him, she said. Ambassador Minho protested. You are too valuable to risk. No, this is exactly what I am meant for. Hannah's eyes were calm. Someone needs to distract High Arbiter Ven. Someone needs to keep him talking while the team does their work. I have spent my entire career learning how to talk to aliens who hate us. Let me use that skill one more time, Minho wanted to argue. But he saw the determination in her face. He had seen that look before, in soldiers who knew they were walking toward death and chose to walk anyway. Very well, he said. May you both return safely. The Silent Star launched 12 hours later. It was a small ship, barely larger than a shuttle, but it moved through space like a ghost. No sensor detected it. No patrol noticed it. It slipped past Velen defenses as if they did not exist. 50 hours remained when they reached the control station, Ambassador. Yoon Hana opened communications with High Arbiter Ven. His face appeared on the screen, twisted with hate and madness. Human, he spat. Have you come to beg? Have you finally learned your place? Hana kept her voice calm. I have come to talk, High Arbiter. I have come to understand. Understand what? Why you hate us so much. Ven stared at her. No one had ever asked him that question. No one had ever treated him as anything other than a monster. You want to know why? He laughed, but there was no joy in it. Because you are insects. You are nothing. You should have stayed on your little world and died in your little wars. Instead, you crawled into space. You touched things you do not deserve. You looked at the stars as if they belonged to you. They do belong to us, Hannah said softly, just as they belong to everyone who reaches for them. No, the stars belong to the strong, the worthy. Not to creatures who lived in caves while we built empires. While Ven spoke, Captain Kong Tai-ho led his team through the station's maintenance tunnels. They moved in silence, avoiding patrols, bypassing security. They reached the weapons control room without being detected, but the controls were more complex than they expected. Disabling the weapon would take time. Time they did not have. I can do it, Tai-ho said, but I will have to stay here. The shutdown requires constant input. If I leave, the weapon will restart. His team members looked at each other. They understood what he was saying. Go, Tai-ho ordered. Get back to the ship. Tell the Admiral we succeeded. Captain, that's an order. The team left. Tai-ho stayed. On the communication channel, Ambassador Yoon Hana continued talking to Ven. She kept his attention. She kept him angry. She bought time with every word. You never gave us a chance, she said. You decided we were lesser before we ever spoke. You laughed at us before you knew us. That was your mistake, High Arbiter. My mistake was not destroying you when we had the chance. No, your mistake was thinking that small meant weak. That young meant foolish. That different meant inferior. The weapon's lights began to fade. The charging sequence stopped. Somewhere in the station, Tai-ho was succeeding. Ven noticed the lights change. His eyes went wide. What have you done? We saved 8 million lives, Hannah said. We showed mercy when you showed none. That is what humans do, High Arbiter. That is who we are. Ven screamed and ordered his soldiers to the control room. They found Tai-ho alone, his hands on the controls. He looked up at them and smiled. Tell your master that Earth remembers, he said, and Earth forgives. He pressed the final command. The weapon shut down permanently, but the overload he triggered also destroyed the control room. Captain Kong Tai-ho did not survive. The news reached Earth the next day. A hero had fallen. A terrible weapon had been stopped. 8 million people would live because one man chose to die. Ambassador Yoon Hana returned home with Tai-ho's body. She stood beside Admiral Minho as they honored him. He saved us all, Minho said. He will never be forgotten. High Arbiter Ven was captured and brought before a new tribunal, not the Galactic Assembly. That body had dissolved in shame. This was something new. The Terran Accord, a gathering of equals. A place where every species had a voice, not just the powerful. Ven was convicted of attempted genocide. He would spend the rest of his life in a cell. Watching the galaxy, he tried to burn, grow, and flourish without him. 1 year after the humiliation at the Assembly, Secretary Onminji addressed the founding session of the Terran Accord. Hundreds of species sat in a great hall. But this time, there were no circles, no edges, no shadows. Everyone sat at the same level. We do not forget how we were treated, Minji said. But we choose to be better than those who scorned us. The stars belong to all who reach for them. Together, the delegates applauded. For the first time in galactic history, the applause was not mocking. It was genuine. Admiral Park Minho, now retired, visited a memorial on Earth. It was a simple stone in a garden, surrounded by flowers from 100 worlds. The inscription read, "They told us we were small. We proved we were boundless." He stood there for a long time, thinking about everything humanity had endured. The laughter, the scorn, the treaties designed to keep them down. In the moment when they finally stood up, a young girl walked up to him. She was maybe 8 years old, with curious eyes. "Are you the Admiral?" she asked. "The one from the stories?" Minho smiled. "I am. Is it true? Did they really laugh at us?" "Yes. They laughed because they thought we were weak. But we weren't weak. No." Minho looked up at the stars. "We were patient. We were clever. We were determined. And when the time came, we showed them what humanity truly is." The girl nodded seriously. Then she ran off to play, leaving Minho alone with his memories. Somewhere above, ships flew between the stars. Human ships. Ships from 100 allied worlds. Ships carrying hope instead of weapons. The galaxy had changed, and it would never laugh at Earth again.